Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your morning news show. Manchester United have made an inquiry about Ollie Watkins, so we're going to talk about that. The striker search continues at Manchester United. We've been linked with an awful lot throughout the summer, and Ollie Watkins has emerged as a real candidate for Manchester United. I want to know your thoughts, guys. Let me know in the comment section. We've got a live poll running in the live chat as well. I want to know what you guys think about it. We'll talk a little bit about that. The implications that Marcus Rashford has on this potential deal as well. Supposedly, not supposedly, Aston Villa have refused to trigger the option to buy Marcus Rashford for 40 million. He will return to Manchester United. It has been confirmed. And there was a potential swap deal, I suppose, put forward by United in relation to getting Ollie Watkins. It was rejected. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've also got an update on Raasmus Highland as well, guys, and his potential exit from Manchester United. And then Fabrizio Romano, of course, has given us an update again on Mbuemo. It continues to drag on. It's starting to get 9 at this stage, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. As always, guys, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. It helps us out an awful lot. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. We do these morning shows whenever we can, so yeah, I do appreciate the support as always, guys. But look, we're going to start with, of course, Ollie Watkins, and this is coming from a very, very reliable source. It's coming from Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. He said yesterday that Ollie Watkins is on Manchester United's list of potential centre forward recruits if Raasmus Highland leaves the club. There has been contact between the two clubs via intermediaries to explore the prospect of a deal. Now, a couple of little things to kind of pick the bones off here. First and foremost, I think the way it's been written here by Laurie, that if Raasmus Highland leaves the club, United could potentially move for Ollie Watkins. Now, does that mean that Manchester United are not going to look for a striker unless Raasmus Highland leaves? I don't think that's the case, to be quite honest with you. What I pick up from this is that Ollie Watkins would come in maybe as a second striker. Now, I could be completely wrong here, but basically what I'm saying is that I don't think Manchester United are going to outright go for Ollie Watkins as their number one target or their only striker target this summer. I think we're still probably going to be in for Victor Gyökeres, whether Osimhen lowers his wage demands, Ekitike, Sesko, whoever the case may be. I think Ollie Watkins would potentially be maybe that second striker or that rotational striker along with a number one target if Raasmus Highland leaves the club. Would I take Ollie Watkins at Manchester United? Absolutely, I would. I think he's a good striker. You know, he's got double digits in terms of goals in the Premier League, I think the last 5 years in a row now. But he is hitting the 30 mark. I think he'll be 30 this year. And, you know, when you're talking about what Ineos are looking at and, you know, that kind of age structure that they're looking to keep their signings around, he doesn't fit that bill. He really doesn't. You know, Ineos don't really want to go over the age of 26, but I think it would be a smart move, to be quite honest with you. If you could go out and potentially get a Gyökeres or an Osimhen or, you know, your number one target, and then bring in somebody like Ollie Watkins as the second striker or the rotational option with somebody else, I think it would be a very, very good move. Now, do Manchester United have that kind of money? Off the bat, absolutely not. They don't. You know, we know that sales are going to have to happen before we can generate some revenue to go out and maybe sign players like Ollie Watkins. But if the price is right, I mean, I think Ollie Watkins would be a good signing. I genuinely do. Do I think he's the option to come in and lead the line for Manchester United as the number one striker? Probably not. I would still prefer to go out and get a Gyökeres, for example. And, you know, everybody who watches the channel knows, you know, my feelings about him. He would be my number one option, to be quite honest with you. But I think Ollie Watkins coming in, if it's a case where, I mean, the age thing gets me. It really does. Because if you're going to be signing Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa, he's going to be getting a 4-year contract, probably with an option of an extra year. That brings him all the way up to 35 years of age. He's probably going to be getting more money at United than he is at Aston Villa, albeit it's not going to be an extortionate amount. Could that money be reinvested better? And I think it could, and I think that's the reason why I would prefer him to come in not as the first choice option, or not as the striker that leads the line for Manchester United, and potentially I don't want to say a backup option because I think he's better than a backup option. But, you know, you need more than one striker at your club. And I think Ollie Watkins would probably be that better, not second choice, but maybe 1.5 choice, 1.5 choice. But look, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. We'll get to your comments in a moment. The report goes on to say, at the end of last season, Manchester United and Aston Villa discussed the possibility of Watkins being involved in the potential move for Marcus Rashford. Rashford's desire to join Barcelona put an end to that possibility. So Marcus is just, being a barrel of laughs here. And, we know his desire to sign for Barcelona is quite strong. And again, I mean, I would have liked to see Ollie Watkins come in at the end of last season. You know, when you seen maybe the struggles that Raasmus Highland had, and we didn't really have that out-and-out number 9 alongside him, maybe to take some of the pressure off. I think Watkins would have provided real good strength into that forward line. It ultimately didn't happen. But United seemed to be, I suppose, continuing to look at Watkins and what he could potentially bring. Look, 75 goals in 184 games for Villa in the Premier League, reaching double figures in the last 5 seasons. It's seen by some at United as the transfer target most likely to be a reliable source of goals in England's top flight. And look, we talk about, you can't have double standards here either. We talk about, Mbuemo and Cunha and getting them in because they're Premier League proven and they've scored goals in the league. Ollie Watkins absolutely falls into that camp. He falls into that category. And, like we said, double figures in the league for the past 5 years in a row. Will double figures only, if you're talking 12, 13 goals, will that be enough to lead the line for Manchester United? I don't think it will. Ultimately, if you're trying to get into top 4, and in a couple of years' time, maybe, hopefully, Jesus, please God, challenge him for Premier League titles, I don't think 12 or 13 goals from your number 9 is going to be enough. I think you've got to be getting closer to the 20 goal a season mark. But when you've got the likes of Mbuemo, the likes of Cunha, and let's not forget here, Ollie Watkins has played with Mbuemo before at Brentford. But I think when you've got those two guys behind you, they're going to have to continue their goal-scoring traits as well. Look, I will reiterate the fact that I want Victor Gyökeres. I want somebody like him who can come in and who can score 30 goals a season as your number 9. And then if you can add, 15 to 20 goals from Mbuemo, 15 to 20 from Cunha, 10 from Bruno, 10 from Ahmad, whoever else is in there, all of a sudden, goals get you up the league. They really do. But let's see what you guys think here. We'll have a chat in the live chat. Let me see. Smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't done so. Please do get that like button smashed. Ben says, Watkins simply not good enough. And I'm sensing a bit of a divide online in the past maybe 24 hours since this was announced. Dylan says, wouldn't mind Watkins, but he's not my first or second choice. He would be like third or fourth. But the thing about it is, guys, and what we've got to be realistic about here as well is we finished fucking 15th in the Premier League last year. We can't be overly demanding about who we get either. We've got to be a little bit realistic also. Oshin says, I take Watkins but not as first choice. Need a proven guaranteed 20 plus goal. If Highland leaves is going to be tough. Yeah, I agree 100% there. They're going to want stupid money for him. Kieran Zindi says, hi. Dylan says, to be honest, Jack, he's 30 but we have done well with 30 plus year old strikers in the last couple of years. Oshin says, was the price a stumbling block for Rashford? Swap deal possibility, though I do well, the thing about Rashford was Rashford, I remember when Rashford went to Villa on loan, I thought it was quite clear that he wasn't really going to end up there on a permanent basis. He always wanted to go to one of the Barcelona, one of the giants, Barcelona. He's never going to Real Madrid. Is he going to go and play in Serie A? Probably not. PSG, they wouldn't have him. Bayern Munich probably wouldn't have him. So, I do worry about the Rashford scenario, but if there's a swap deal potentially there, it could happen maybe later in the window. If Rashford is not getting the move that he wants to Barcelona, now the thing about it is Villa can't offer Champions League football either. They didn't finish in the top 5. So, again, that maybe is a stumbling block for Rashford as well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Rashford needs to get his head out of his arse. Barca don't want and can't afford you. Yep, absolutely. Dylan says, Ten Hag wanted Watkins 2 years ago instead. Highland. Yeah, well, United decided to go with the younger option rather than going for somebody like Watkins, which, if you're talking to, what was he? He would have been 27, then maybe 26, 27. Yeah, so anyway, I think Watkins would be great for us, says Party Pooper. Let's see. We've got... What else have we got? I think we need to be realistic here. Someone like Watkins is most likely the type of player we'll end up with. And yeah, I mean, we've got to be realistic. Absolutely. Arsenal for Life says Watkins will be a good signing for you. And I'd rather Watkins over DCL. Who's DCL? I don't know who that is. Anyway, let's move it on, guys. I want to talk a little bit about outgoings, and we're going to talk a little bit about Raasmus Highland here. He's been mentioned a couple of times there in the chat, and again with the same article, it's obviously the Watkins in, Highland out scenario here. Highland's exit could meanwhile open the door for Ollie Watkins. The Denmark international is on Inter's radar, but has previously expressed his desire to stay at Manchester United. And again, this reiterates the fact that I think it would be Watkins as... Let me put it this way. I don't think Manchester United are going to sign Ollie Watkins as their number one striker. I think Ollie Watkins comes in, if we get a striker and we move Raasmus Highland on, I think Ollie Watkins comes in then maybe as, as not backup, but as that rotational option. I still think we're going to be going for the likes of a Gyökeres or, your number one signing. And then I think it also lends to the argument that Raasmus Highland could potentially stay as a backup. I really do think that may be the case. And again, I've spoken in depth before about this, about him maybe getting the opportunity to be that backup striker and have the pressure taken off of him. But again, if Manchester United deem him, subject to requirements, then he's got to go. And I do think Ollie Watkins coming in for a Raasmus Highland is an upgrade. I genuinely do believe that. But again, I don't think Ollie Watkins should be the out-and-out number 9 for Manchester United leading the line. I still think we need to go out and get a Gyökeres or an Osman or whoever else you're talking about to come in and fill that role for the next 4, 5, 6 years. But Watkins coming in as a Highland replacement, I'm all for. Look, and again, look, we've seen people talking about Highland and, the possibility of him staying, and people agree and people disagree. And, I think ultimately what's most important here is that Manchester United need a backup. We need a backup striker. If you go out and get a Gyökeres, an Osman, a Watkins, an Ekitike, a Sesko, any of them, and you sell Raasmus Highland, what happens if that player gets injured that we bring in? You've got nobody, no out-and-out number 9 to fall back on, besides maybe Chido Obi, who's a 17-year-old that shouldn't have that kind of pressure put on him this early in his career. He may be able to handle it, and he may be good enough to do it. That may be the case, but I think it's more beneficial for him that he's allowed to develop outside of the spotlight as much as possible, in the under-18s, in the under-21s, where the pressure is off, the spotlight is not on him, and there's not, articles in the Daily Mail about him, not scoring a goal in 4 games for the first team. Let him develop for a season or two, bring him in when he's ready to go, or even let him go out on loan. And that should be an option for him as well. And I think that's why it's most important that we bring in a backup option. So if you bring in an Osman, you've got to bring in a second striker, whether that be Raasmus Highland or whether that be somebody else. Look, ultimately, I've made my point clear on Highland. I've seen enough of him over the last 2 years to think he's not good enough for Manchester United. Now, as a backup option, as your second striker, I could get behind it for a season and see how he gets on. I could. But I think ultimately it is a position that we need to improve on, and we need to improve on as quickly as possible, because goals win you games. And again, I think, we're talking an awful lot about goalkeepers, and Onana has come for an awful lot of criticism. I don't think Onana is as bad as a goalkeeper as Raasmus Highland is as a striker. And that may sound very, very harsh, and I could probably articulate it in a softer way, maybe saying that I think it's more important, and I think it would be more beneficial to Manchester United to fix the attacking line first, more so than the goalkeeper position. I think we will win more games and gain more points by fixing the striker, the number 9 spot, than fixing the goalkeeper and changing the goalkeeper. And I think that would be more beneficial to us. You get a goal, you get a striker in that's scoring 20 plus goals a season. I think that moves us up the table a hell of a lot quicker than changing the goalkeeper, who may make 3, 4, 5 mistakes in the league. And that's not to say he will do that again next year. So I do think that we're moving in the right direction, trying to sort out the forward line first. And if there is an option then maybe to upgrade the goalkeeper before the end of the transfer window, if you make sales, if you get the forward line right, then I think you could pull the trigger on it then. But I think for now, it's got to be the forward line that we prioritise. It really, really is. Let's see what you're saying here in the chat. Let's have a look. What are we saying here? Oh, Dominic CalvertLewin. Sorry, yeah. Oshin mentioned there. And again, look, Dominic CalvertLewin has been mentioned over the last couple of days as well. United, he's a free agent now. And small couple of reports coming out about, maybe Manchester United making a potential move for him. I think that would be a very smart move out United. If you can go out and get your number 1 striker, again, your Gyökeres, your Osmans, them key marquee signings to lead the line as your number 9 for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think bringing in somebody like Dominic CalvertLewin, who's Premier League proven, who, is a decent goal scorer, and having him as your backup option, I think would be a smart move, especially when you're getting him on a free. And look, I mean, just because a player is on a free transfer doesn't mean he's not a good player or it's not a good move. I mean, Christian Eriksen was fantastic for us for that first season that he arrived. And I think over the course of his contract at United, I thought, he served us quite well. He was obviously in the twilight of his career. He was slowing down. And then, you do have your scenarios and your dilemmas where, the physicality is not there, maybe the pace is not there, and you've got to upgrade, you really do. But that doesn't mean he can't be a part of the squad, and I think somebody like Dominic CalvertLewin would provide a good backup. I do think he would, but again, look, getting him on a free, you're getting him on relatively small wages, and I think he would jump at the opportunity. And you could go all the way back to, Alex Ferguson doing deals like that. Michael Owen was never going to come in and play 30 games a season for Manchester United. He was coming in as a backup option. And, his first ever goal was in that Manchester derby, that famous goal. And so, look, you've got to have players like that. And, and I understand that people are saying we've got to fix the 1 to 11 first. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because opportunities don't arise in chronological order, You don't go, there's a goalkeeper available now. Well, next we'll focus on a right back. That's not how it works. You've got to be able to pull the trigger on an opportunity when it arises, while still going for your main targets. And I think having somebody like maybe a Dominic CalvertLewin in your team, if it arises, I think would be a good option to just to have. You need depth in your squad. And he would provide it. Now, finally, guys, want to talk a little bit about Bryan Mbuemo and the potential move to Manchester United. And again, look, it's dragging on, isn't it? It really, really is dragging on. And Fabrizio Romano has been speaking on it on his YouTube channel, and he said Manchester United are still advancing on Bryan Mbuemo. Conversations continue. And I know United fans, your patience is being pushed over the line, but Manchester United are working on it. Our patience is being pushed over the line. And I would like to see myself as a patient Manchester United fan when it comes to transfers, and, saying, give it time, we'll get deals done, and so on and so forth. It's starting to itch at me a little bit. Monday, we're starting pre-season training. Now, again, I'm fully aware that you don't need to have all of your play, and we won't have a full squad maybe coming back on Monday. You'll have players that are on extended leave and so on and so forth. But I think the following Monday or Tuesday we fly out on pre-season tour, and I think are we going directly to America, or are we going somewhere in maybe Scandinavia first, maybe, or maybe that could be after. Regardless, I think that's probably what you're talking about, getting players in. We need players in by then, as many as we can. I mean, we've signed one player. We spoke at the start of the transfer window, didn't we, before it even opened, that minimum 4 players we need. You know, minimum 4 players. We finished 15th last season. We've got Cunha in, and Mbuemo is going to get done. It will get done. I seen a report this morning suggesting that he is happy to stay at Brentford if a deal can't be struck with Manchester United, but I don't see that as being an issue. United are... And again, look, we spoke about this an awful lot over the last few years, ever since maybe the Ten Hag reign, or even when, probably more so when Ineos came in. United, we're sick of United getting taken advantage of in the transfer window, where we're getting, we're overpaying for players. So, in a way, I'm okay with seeing United negotiating and not being taken advantage of, and say, well, look, we're happy to wait an extra week or two if it means we can grind out negotiations and get a better deal for us. I'm okay with that. But you've got to get that balance right between, negotiating money down and getting players in, because Ruben Amorim needs his squad in and on that training pitch as quickly as possible. We know the importance of pre-season for Ruben Amorim now. He's spoken so much over the 7 months that he's been here now, about not having enough time on the training ground to implement his ideas, his strategies, his formation, tactics, so on and so forth. So when we go into this pre-season, you've got to have the majority of your deals done as quickly as possible to get him in, to get him on the training pitch with Ruben Amorim, and to allow Ruben Amorim to implement his ideas onto these players. It's absolutely vital. It's so vital. It really is. Oshin says, I don't think Highland is good enough. Bottom line, I think we need a stronger backup. You're comparing apples and oranges with Onana and Highland. Well, I'm not. I'm not comparing them at all. I'm saying that fixing the forward line is more important than fixing the goalkeeper. There's no comparison between the two. Onana influence is much more than saving his 3 in front of him. Seems to have no confidence in him. Yeah, I understand that. But is there more confidence in Onana? What the fuck happened with that lie? Is there more confidence in Onana, or is there more confidence in Raasmus Highland? That's my point. You know what I mean? We can't score goals. If you concede goals, you can still win a game. If you don't score goals, you can't win a game. And that's basically my point. Do you think a new number 6 is very important this season? I don't think it's massively important. Again, I would like one, but again, if we're talking about where on the priority ladder it lands, I think it's pretty low down, to be quite honest with you. I really do. Today is the start of the new financial year. Could see more moves from now on with PSR. Yeah, I agree. I think, you would hope that to be the case. You really would. But I do think that we heard early reports, didn't we, that the money was there for Mbuemo and Cunha, the 2 number 10s. Now, we initially went for a striker first, didn't we? So we went for Cunha and a striker with Liam Delap. When Liam Delap didn't happen, we then moved to Cunha. So, and not that they're obviously the same position or anything, but he was obviously next on the list for United to want to get in the door. So, and United obviously seen the Liam Delap as one that could get done quick. Obviously, Osimhen, Gyökeres, whoever else is not going to be that straightforward. So the money was there for a couple of signings at the start. But I do think United are negotiating down. But anyway, I agree regardless. it's starting to turn into a bit of a saga, so let's hope we can get done as quickly as possible. Anyway, guys, look, we're going to leave it there. I'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock for a full transfer news show, so if you haven't already joined us for the 9 o'clock shows, please do set a reminder, hit the bell notification if you are a subscriber, and you get notified then as soon as we're live. Jump in, say hello, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Yeah, smash a like in the video, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day. I'll chat to you tonight at 9.